Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and we're talking this week, or I guess we called this week's episode, this week's summer mini episode, Peace is How You Heal. We have a lot of different opportunities to connect and to download really powerful wisdom, energy, and lessons this week. And the bottom line of all of them connects us to the energy of healing. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide the most powerful and practical tools to help you navigate the coming 7 days. We do that by poring over the wisdom of Kabbalah and cherry picking, I would say, the best items to support you with in the coming week. And even though we're focusing on the opportunities of this week, we're sharing lessons you can use at any time. And the main factors we have, first of all, in general, the energy of this week, according to the Kabbalists, no matter what days fall in this week, we always get the energy, understand the energy of the week according to what's written in the teachings of the Zohar. And the Zohar is specific not to the dates of the month, but follows a specific order. So sometimes this week's energy will fall earlier in July, later in July, but it always falls in this season. And the energy broadcast connects us to the energy of healings. Healings of all kinds, which is why I said the plural healings: physical healing, emotional healing, spiritual and mental healing. The energy of completion, of perfection exists, and we can tap into that this week. This coming Tuesday, so Monday night and Tuesday, it's the 17th day of the month of Cancer, which begins the famous weeks of narrowness, according to the teachings of Kabbalah. I brace yourself, I'm going to say some harsh words. These 3 weeks are the most negative 3 weeks of the year. When we say that they're negative, I'm going to throw you back to 3 episodes ago when I explained that they're not actually negative. This is not a negative time, but because we lack that spiritual ozone layer in this time, it tends to be harsher, greater propensity to char or sunburn or barbecue from the energy that's coming at us. And it's that much more important to be spiritually connected and conscious and using our tools so that we can be on our best behavior and most aware watchfulness to make sure that we're not getting reactive the way that we, the unconscious us might be. So this 3-week process, it goes from July 23rd to August 13th. We'll be talking about it in the next 3 weeks, of course, in different ways and shapes, but I bring that to everyone's attention because it's another one of those periods where new things are not recommended. It's better not to buy big purchases, sign contracts, start new jobs. The brilliant teachings that we get from the wisdom of Kabbalah say that if an opportunity comes to you in this period, and you push it off to when the energy shifts, and it's still there for you, it was meant to be yours. But if it doesn't, if it can't wait for you to plant the seed in a positive time, it wasn't meant to be yours anyway. And I have counseled, I don't think millions, but thousands of people over the years with these teachings. And I can think of one person, many people, but one person who said, I don't care, this is too good of an opportunity to pass up. He was offered poached by another company, offered another job, took the job, quit his former job, and then within a couple days was told, never mind, and he was out of a job. So the job offer fell through. He had already quit his former job. It was very unattractive is a nice way to say it. So I strongly recommend, I always advise people to really allow those opportunities, and usually they're like urgent, and you don't let it pass you by, and make the offer on the house. Do not make the offer on the house. If the house is still available on August 14th, it's yours. Go for it. But if it's not doing it now is saving you a lifetime of disasters that would come from it. So that's one thing. And this energy of Pinchas, this energy of healing, is always going to fall in the 3 negative weeks. So you see how the universe is affirming what we talked about last week, that in the greatest darkness, there is the greatest light. And we have a few opportunities in these 3 weeks that are so elevated, so energizing, so powerful, that it's like you need to skip the rocks, like jump over the puddles and if you can get to the rocks, you really tap into this powerful and awesome energy. And I will share those opportunities with you. Reflecting on what the title means, peace is how you heal. If we think about our own selves and our daily mindless lives, hopefully becoming more mindful and more conscious, we let so many things upset us. I'm not even talking about harmful things. I'm talking about someone cutting us off, plans falling through, burnt toast, spilt milk, getting a hole in a piece of clothing, the dog chewing on something. We invite a cacophony of ups and downs into our lives by allowing everything that's going on around us to affect us. Even for positive, right? When you get really excited, I often say this in classes, if I call you up and say, you just won $1 million, right? You're going to get excited. You're going to start to plan how you're going to spend the $1 million. If I call you up 5 minutes later and say, I'm sorry, there was a mistake. There's no $1 million. How are you going to feel? Most people let down at best, crushed, and worse at worst. So that's an indication of how you allow external circumstances to be the cause and you the effect. But what it also shows you is that your tendency to be easily moved by external situations and people says something about your core, your being. When we care about what people think of us, say to us, do to us, we find ourselves veering from the path that we really intentionally choose and want to be on. So part of what this week invites us to do in that quest and achievement of healing is to identify the places in our life where we are not at peace, where we are not at rest, where we're restless, where we're anxious, where we are uncomfortable. To take our fears and our worries and kick them out the door. They do not serve us. Maybe fear of the dentist keeps you brushing your teeth twice daily and flossing. We're not talking about healthy fears. We're talking about the stuff that keeps you up at night, the stuff that makes you feel helpless and hopeless. We know in the core of our being who we are and what we are capable of, and everything else is just noise. And that's part of the lesson of this week. First of all, the idea that the universe can give us these opportunities to be affected or not be affected, to be controlled or to not be controlled. That's something that happens all the time, but especially in the month of Cancer. And again, I'm going to make a comment about it. Hopefully nobody will be offended, right? The ruling planet of the sign of Cancer is the moon. What is the moon? It is reactive to the sun. We only see as much of the moon as the sun is able to shine on it. And we are very much like the moon. If we are honest, we are very much affected about how much attention, energy, perception, what people think and say about us. And even if our perception is, I just want to make people happy, I just want people to feel good, what we're saying is that other people's emotions are my responsibility. And there is literally nothing about other people's emotions that are our responsibility. But for whatever reason, and especially in the month of Cancer, we allow other people's energy, thoughts, and behaviors to affect us even more. The same way that the moon is affected essentially, meaning it is who the moon is. The moon is there to reflect the light of the sun. So rather than be influenced by how much energy we get from others or we don't get from others, how much people do what we want or don't do what we want, how much of our expectations are met or fulfilled, to go back, to turn inwards and to realize that our essence is actually not the moon, it's the sun. Our spiritual DNA is the light force of the Creator. So that, going back to last week, that our certainty is really the buzzword for this month, for this week, because when I know that everything is for my best, I can rest. I can be at peace. I can be calm. Why do I need to worry? Even if I'm uncomfortable right now, I know that my discomfort is exactly where I need to be. And so as we go into this second half of the month of Cancer, we're moving towards the new moon of Leo, and we'll talk about that as well. But it's really important, especially in these 3 weeks, that we act with human dignity, compassion, and kindness, even with those that don't deserve it. That one of the bigger tests of these 3 weeks of narrowness is that the test is how good of a human being we can be. And even going back to the person I talked about before, the person last week who, wasn't able to bless the person who had it out for them. The fact is, it's not even about being able to bless the person in that case. In these 3 weeks, we want to be able to act with tolerance and with human dignity to all people at all costs. Even if they deserve it, even if they don't deserve it, don't be busy with do they deserve it. This work is between you and the universe. And the amount of light that we cultivate by being in that space of human dignity at all costs, especially in this time, will come back to us many-fold. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also go to our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can find our archives, send us a message, and click the donate button to support our podcast. But most importantly, please continue to share every episode. Go back in the archives and search for the right episode for that special someone. And wherever you're listening, please rate and review. It really makes a difference for us and gets us out in front of more eyes and more ears. Have a fabulous week, and we'll see you next week for another summer mini episode of Weekly Energy Boost.